Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today we are doing our NFL Week 7 picks. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say use the code in my bio to get 30% off your subscription to Triant DFS's premium sports betting picks. I'll show a couple wins on the screen now. We've just been hitting some huge ones now with hockey starting up, basketball starting up. There's going to be even more wins coming soon, guys. Please go check them out. Make sure you hit a like and subscribe before the video starts. And let's get into it. We are starting with the Denver Broncos taking on the New Orleans Saints on Thursday Night Football. Austin, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, so New Orleans was a team that we kind of believed in. Then they lost Derek Carr, and this past week they just got absolutely housed by the Buccaneers. At least on the scoreboard, it was kind of a fairly close game. It was 31-27 Bucks going into the fourth quarter. Then
The
Bucks
Bucks.
scored 20 points to win
Yeah.
51-27. The Saints scored 27 points in the second quarter, 0 points in the three other quarters.
Yeah, that was pretty ugly. And they really were only kept in it by those picks that Baker threw. Um,
Yeah, Baker Mayfield, three interceptions in the
although
game.
all two of them were tip passes and they weren't really one of them was just a straight up pick, I'll say that. And the other two were kind of not really Baker's fault. Um,
Right. Um, yeah, Olave got knocked out of the game with concussion, right?
and he fumbled on that play too, right at the beginning of the game. He's not going to be
So,
ready though. I mean, for a short week like this, so he's going to be out.
yeah.
So is Sertan probably, um, who also that was a close game. I mean, that was basically a 6 point game, right? It was 16-23, or to 22, or what was the final score?
Which game?
The Chargers versus Broncos.
It was 23-17, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
23-16. Yeah, the Chargers were up 23-0 going into the fourth quarter, but then, the Broncos scored 16 points.
Tebow Nicks, dude.
Um,
He's Tim Tebow 2.0.
yeah,
Just fourth quarter clutch. Uh, I really think that if Patrick Surtain didn't go out, we might have seen a way closer game. The Broncos were able to, as you said, come back in the fourth quarter, make it not as ugly of a loss. Um,
hmm
I really have to think though in this game specifically. I'm looking at Sean Payton versus Dennis Allen, his defensive coordinator. I think Sean Payton's going to just know how to beat this defense. And we got Spencer Rattler
hmm
starting, and I don't know what to think about Rattler. He kind of looked decent throwing the ball. He threw I think two picks. Um,
Yes, that's correct.
so I don't know. I like the Broncos defense to win this game. It's a 1.5 point spread, and New Orleans is obviously favored at home. I like Denver to cover this, so I'm picking Denver.
Okay. Yeah, I just there's not really a whole lot to love about the Saints right now. Olave is, their top pass catcher is going to be probably. There's no chance he plays, right? There's no way he
Malik Neighbors
like.
got hurt, on Sunday night football, and then they played on Sunday again. I think it was just a full week's rest, and he didn't even get cleared on the concussion protocol. And that was so.
Yeah,
I'm not really thinking that Olave is going to play. Who knows? Obviously, people are different, so there's maybe a
yeah.
slim chance he plays. Not a very
I,
high
I just
chance.
I just I don't know. I know the Broncos aren't exactly some like high scoring offensive machine, but I'm just gonna go with the Broncos in this one. And I also think, yeah, Sean Payton is probably. I'm gonna pick Sean Payton over Dennis Allen is what I'm gonna do here
Yeah,
as a
Dennis
quarterback.
Allen. He's actually I mean he's already on the FBI's most wanted list, but he's moving up. We'll get to Doug Peterson in this London game, but he's definitely on the FBI's most wanted list.
Hmm.
So let's move on to the London game, as I was speaking of. New England taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags are actually 5.5 point favorites in this game at home, quote unquote. Um, I re- I really liked how Drake May looked against Houston's defense. He threw 2 picks, but this is his first start, and again, it's not against a bad defense either. He had 3 touchdown passes. One was a huge one right before halftime, like literally right before halftime, to Kayshon Boutte, uh, LSU horny man. And then he had 2 other passes in the second half, 2 touchdown passes. They all looked pretty good. Um, the Patriots offense took a step forward, going from Jacoby Brissett to Drake May. Uh, and Drake May, I
Yeah.
think he had about 50 rushing yards, so he was able to show that he could scramble and find yardage as a runner, which Jacoby Brissett can't do. He's kind of like
Uh-huh.
Jameis
Yeah, he
Winston
had
light.
38.
Oh, 38?
He had
Oh, yeah,
38
my
rushing
bad.
yards. Yeah.
I'm like inflating his stats. Yeah, but I really liked how Drake May looked, and the Jags got blown the F out by the Bears, like badly. Um,
Badly.
Very bad. Caleb Williams looked
Hmm.
really good, speaking of rookie QBs. But I will say this: I'm gonna put up the Robin Williams Goodwill Hunting meme. He says it's not your fault because it's not your fault, Trevor. It's not your fault. The team did shit. It is Press Taylor. It is Doug Peterson. They are on my FBI's. They are #1 on my specific FBI most wanted list. They need to be fired right after this game on the flight home from London. They need to be sent to prison for what they're doing to basically one of the greatest quarterback prospects of all time.
Doug Peterson, just leave him over there and let him become the new Ted Lasso. Maybe,
Exactly.
maybe, maybe he can start coaching, soccer or something like that.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
And his,
I
go
don't
ahead,
know if
sorry.
I want the Jags to win this game because obviously I'm rooting for the Jags, but if they win this game, that means there's more Doug Peterson, more Press Taylor. So I like how New England's offense looked against a better defense, the Houston Texans. So I'm going to pick Drake May. Drake May is going to get his first career win against the Jaguars. Makes me sad to pick against them, but I have to. So I'm going New England plus 5.5 points.
Okay, but you're taking New England to
Yeah,
win then?
yeah. I'll take New England.
Okay. So we're first one, we're both on Denver plus 1.5, and then
Yep,
for this one, you are on
New
New
England.
England plus 5.5.
Yep.
All right. Well, so all I'm saying here is when the Jags lose this game, are you when you're tanking here, who do you want them to get? Are you so excited for Travis Hunter, dude? I know
No,
you love
no, I am
I know you
not.
love Colorado.
I am not a Shadur Sanders fan or a uh, Travis Hunter fan. I'm a Shiloh Sanders fan, though. No,
Okay.
to be honest, I don't know who I'd want the Jags to take. Um,
This is not a good draft for the Jags to be #1
they might have
overall.
to just trade back. Obviously, you're not taking a quarterback. You're obviously not. You're not taking Shadur Sanders. You're not taking Milrow. You're not taking Carson Neck back. For me, I'd like to see them take no lineman, a tight end, because
Yeah.
I like Evan Ingram, but I think he's the best ability is availability, and he's got that hamstring problem, and he's missed a couple games past. He's just getting old as a tight end, and I don't know. Um, I'd like to
That's fair.
I'd like to see them take somebody O line because they need O line help badly. They do
Yeah.
need a good secondary wide receiver besides Christian Kirk. Obviously, they have BTJ, who's a great first option for him.
Okay. We don't have to get into the whole mock
Yeah,
draft thing, but
yeah. I don't know.
yeah, we're going.
I don't know. O line probably. So you're picking? Are you picking New England as well, or are you picking the Jags?
I don't know. This is a really hard one because I don't trust the Jaguars to cover the 5.5, and the Patriots. I don't. They're 1-5, but I feel like I've seen more like signs of life from the Patriots than I have from the Jaguars. Although I would trust Trevor Lawrence more. Dude, the thing about this is that against the Bears, the Jaguars ran for 68 total yards, 20 total carries for 68 yards. And I know they had to abandon the run pretty early
Also,
because they
ETN
fell
got
behind.
hurt. ETN got hurt like in the first. I think he fumbled. He almost fumbled the ball, or he dropped it, and they almost called a fumble. Then they called it back, and then he finished with
Mm,
negative yardage with a shoulder or hamstring injury or something. So he left the game early, and they were stuck with Tank, who's better than ETN at this point. So that's not that big of a loss. Um,
yeah, but then Tank Bigsby ran 7 times for 24 yards. Not super great. Really just not a whole lot going on the ground. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 3 times, but I just I don't know, man. I just don't see anything with the Jags, man. There's just no juice at all. They look
no,
like a completely listless, lost team. They're terrible. They're just terrible.
yeah,
And defensively, they are third worst in the league in allowing yards per play. Offensively, they're 16th or 15th in the league in offensive yards per play. So they didn't do anything particularly well. I mean, the Patriots are at least pretty good on defense, although their numbers are not the best.
uh huh.
They rank 23rd in yards per play allowed, but I just I don't know. They're young. I feel like the Patriots just have more juice
Yeah,
than
they had the whole
the
mutiny for Drake
Jaguars.
May, and it kind of paid off, even though they didn't win. They looked better as a team.
I just feel like the Jaguars are just like lost. You know what I mean? There's just like nobody cares, and I feel like the Patriots care.
Yeah, yeah, we
I
have
don't know if they're gonna win.
Jared Mayo. Kind of, they're still bought in on Jared Mayo. The whole, coaching
Right.
staff is not the coaching staff in the Jags is on the way out. I can almost guarantee that after this year
And
they're gone.
we saw it with Urban Meyer, got fired mid-season. I don't think, I don't think they'll hesitate to fire Doug Peterson if they're like 1-9 or what I mean? Like if they lose this game and they're
They might fire him
really
after this
terrible.
game.
You think they would do that?
Dude, I don't see how they can't. I really think the problem is the coaching and the play calling. I think they have problems just roster wise on defense and offense, but they're not playing to Trevor's strengths a lot, and they're not. The play calling is just abysmal. So
Yeah, as much as I was a big Doug Peterson guy. In fact, I wanted the Bears to hire him. Because guy wins a Super Bowl, he's out the door 2 years later, 3 years later, whatever it
hmm
was. Like guys that win Super Bowls don't hit the market very frequently.
no,
But you see it with a guy like Mike McCarthy, just because a guy won a Super Bowl once doesn't mean that. I mean,
they fired him
Mike
for a
Tomlin,
reason. It's not like they just fired him because they're like, hey, we're a bad front office. We're just going to fire our coach for no reason. They obviously had a reason. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe we're starting to see it.
the Eagle,
Yeah,
and 2 years later they were in the Super Bowl again. And I don't like Sirianni, but they were in the Super Bowl 2 years after they fired Doug Peterson.
yeah. Well, he just
So
imploded the Frank Reich coaching staff. Which isn't Frank Reich a Peterson disciple anyway? So wait a minute. Now we need to. I need to.
yeah,
I need to readjust my math, dude. My math is
he
off.
is.
So Frank Reich is a.
He is.
Yeah. Wait a minute, dude. And Steichen is from Frank Reich, and so is Gannon, and so is Sirianni. Although Sirianni sucks. We'll get on to Sirianni in a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're taking New England as well. So we're
I'm gonna take New England as well, man.
oh
I hate
snap.
to like tail your picks this whole time, but the Jags just there's nothing there. There's just nothing. They don't feel there's no juice whatsoever. They're, like the Jags are the most juiceless team in the league.
Agreed.
That's it. They're like there's no team in the league that has less juice than they do. It just feels like it's so uninspired and like.
Yeah,
All
they're
right, guys, let's go out there. Let's give it our best. Win or lose, let's just have some fun. It's like there's no killer instinct. There's no fire. There's nothing.
no.
They don't even put up a fight, dude.
And unfortunately, they sold my parlay because I picked Brian Thomas Jr. to score a touchdown, and they gave 2 touchdowns to freaking Gabe Davis instead.
Oh God.
That's just personal though, dude. I would have won like $170. Everyone else scored. It was AJ Brown, Jamison Williams, Drake London. They all scored, and it was Brian Thomas Jr. in the early window that screwed me over, unfortunately. So let's move on to the next
Yeah.
game, Seattle at Atlanta. Um,
Yeah.
I like the Falcons in this game. I don't like the Seahawks like at all right now. I don't know if it's just a case of Brock Purdy owns the Seahawks and he can just destroy them every time they go against him. But Gino didn't look
Hmm.
good. Gino didn't look very good at all. I mean, I was saying it. I was in a sports betting group chat, and one of the people in there was a Seahawks fan. And I was just like, Gino looks ass right now. He looks very bad, and I really think we might be
Is he
looking at.
ass or is he mid?
I don't, dude. I think he was like top tier mid, and now he's regressing and he's washed and he's becoming ass. Um, I'm thinking we need to start seriously considering Sam Howell. Um, I know this is crazy this early in the year, but we need to consider Sam Howell because
I mean,
Gino's not.
Sam Howell's not. He's not great, but he will fling that thing around the yard.
He's also young, so like if you're looking at Gino, it's like, how much is Gino really going to change next year or 2 years from now?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah,
Gino is what he is.
Sam Howell can improve. He's almost, he's a block of marble that can be formed into a good quarterback, hopefully. But
But we're talking about this game as if
no,
Gino's
yeah,
gonna
no, no,
play,
no.
right?
I don't.
We're not.
Yeah, I don't like. I don't think Gino against a really good Atlanta defense is going to be able to. Although Andy Dalton kind of kept the Panthers in last week against the Falcons, but I just favor Kirk Cousins. I'm looking at players. Kirk Cousins over Gino for sure. I like Bijan over Kenneth Walker, just very barely though. They're pretty close in terms of skill, I'd say. Um, Drake
Okay.
London and I don't know if I'd like him over DK, but I just like the offenses. I like Atlanta's offense better, so I'm going Atlanta -3 here.
Okay. Gosh, dude, I'm gonna. I want to pick the same thing, but I also don't want to pick the same thing as you. This
Yeah,
is a really tough spot for the Seahawks. They're coming off of three straight losses: Detroit, Giants, 49ers. They will have the extra 10-day layoff because they played on Thursday night, so they're going
yeah,
to get a few extra days to rest up. But they have to play this game at Atlanta. They have to travel across the country. This feels like just a really bad spot for Seattle. I just saw they just traded for Roy Robertson Harris from the Jaguars. So apparently
yeah.
the defensive tackle. So apparently the Jaguars are already in
And
blow it up mode.
fire sale,
Um,
yeah. They're just selling
so
everywhere.
I feel even better about our Patriots pick because Robertson Harris, that's like the starting defensive tackle, the
Yeah,
Jag. And
he's a pretty
so
big
the
piece for them
Seahawks
too.
are
Yeah.
he is he was for the Jag for sure.
Hmm.
And so the Seahawks are clearly trying to get stuff done. All these games, you look at the scores, they're all two possession losses, 42-29 to Detroit on the road, 29-20 to the Giants, 36-24 to the Niners. The Seahawks were in all of these games at the very end. They could have won these games.
Yeah,
And I know we Gino doesn't really knock our socks off. We think Atlanta's kind of trending in the right direction, whereas the Seahawks are coming off three straight losses.
yeah.
Again, they have to travel across the country, but I think I'm going to take Seattle here. I'm
Okay.
just going to bank on the long layoff, and I think they're just going to get back on track here. As good as I think Atlanta's a good team, but I don't think they're unbeatable.
Yeah.
So I will take the Seahawks here. I don't love that pick, but I just think, they're trying, they're making trades, and they've been in all these games close, even though
Yeah.
the scoreboard doesn't really reflect that. So I'm going to take Seattle on the points.
Okay. Let's move on to Tennessee Titans taking on the Buffalo Bills. Uh,
Yeah.
Buffalo's 8.5 point favorites here. Um, I I'm really like debating picking the Titans here in a really weird way, just because I feel like Buffalo's run D is so bad and their pass D is
It
so
is.
good that we might just see them take the ball entirely out of Will Levis's hands because he kind of just gives the game away. And their defense has been playing really
Hmm.
well. The Titans have been, and Tony
Yeah.
Pollard not washed. He looked pretty good. He had a pretty big run against the Colts defense last week. Obviously, Titans lost, but um,
Hmm.
he had a pretty big and a pretty impressive touchdown run. He was able to avoid, I think, 2 tackles. Looked still elusive. Looked like old school Tony Pollard when he was backing up Zeke a couple of years ago. Um,
Yeah.
8.5 point spread. That is where it gets hard for me to pick Buffalo here, because
Hmm.
Titans, even though they're losing a lot of games, they're playing very close, and
Yeah.
um, this is kind of a hard game to pick. I really want to pick the Titans here, and but at the same time, I got to go with Josh Allen. And if they lose tonight, we're recording this on Monday before the game. If the Bills lose tonight, no better team to have a get right game against than the Tennessee Titans. And I feel like if they lose, Josh Allen, James Cook, Frank Gore Jr., Kincaid, they're all just going to go monster. Their defense, obviously, besides the run D, will go off on Will Levis. So I feel like I have to just go with I just have to go with my gut. I'm going to go with the Bills here.
Yeah. The only good thing you can say about the Titans in that Colts game is they didn't get blown out. They only turned the ball over one time, or Will Levis only turned the ball over one time,
Yeah.
which is good for him. Um, they had 146 yards rushing, they averaged 5.2 yards a carry against the Colts. So they may, like you were saying, they may have found something as far as like their run game goes.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard looks a lot better than he did earlier in the year.
Yeah, he's
11
improving.
penalties for 113 yards for the Titans. Very like undisciplined team. That really, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, they had opportunities to win this game against the Colts. I mean, the Colts score a touchdown in the fourth quarter to go up 20-17. And the Titans had 3 possessions from that point on where they went punt, interception, punt. And they just couldn't get an offense going in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There is like we're talking about the Jaguars. There's really like not much to like about the Jaguars. With the Titans, there is at least that good defense
And
to
they
kind of
have,
hang your hat
yeah,
on.
they have the good defense, and the run game isn't just god awful, atrocious. They have flashes in the offense, that just don't. And obviously, this is also like I was saying earlier with Jared Mayo versus Doug Peterson. This is a first year head
Yeah,
coach, so players aren't ready to give up on this guy. Versus like a
right,
Doug Peterson. He's been coaching for 3 years for the Jags now. It's not,
right.
so there is that for Tennessee.
Yeah, I want, I kind of want to believe in the Titans, but it's at Buffalo. You know what? I'm going to just take the Titans anyway. You're taking Buffalo?
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo. Although I really do think that Tennessee could cover. I just have to go with Buffalo. Got to go with the teams you trust.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. I don't really trust Buffalo that much. Obviously, I don't trust Tennessee, but I mean, dude, Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle for the Titans, is just like he's like it's like Chris Jones and then him. He's like absolute monster.
Yeah,
Like nobody can block him up front. Like he's just constantly just getting through the line, and making problems in the back. Like he is a monster of a player. Um, so I look for him to continue having just to continue dominating.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, the Titans are a young team. They're learning how to win. Um, maybe they won't ever learn, but I don't know. And I'm not even picking them to win the game. I'm just picking them to lose
Cover
by
eight and a
less than
half.
8.5 points. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I think
Okay.
their defense is solid.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on to a divisional game. AFC North, the Battle of Ohio. Cincinnati
Mm,
traveling up to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Cincy's 4.5 point road favorites. Uh,
yeah,
I'm a Browns fan. This is hard for me to pick, to be honest, because on one hand, the Cleveland Browns own Joe Burrow for the most part. They've beaten him every time they played him. I think. I can't.
I think he may have one win.
But yeah, I think they won when it was like. Um, I
Joe
think it was
Burrow's
like at the
one in
end of the
five against the
year
Browns.
when they were resting their starters or something like that. I think it was like it was kind of like a
Oh,
fluky win. Um, uh,
yeah,
but
he's 1 in 5 against the Browns overall. But yeah,
yeah, and on the other hand, the Browns suck. The Browns are atrocious. They were
yeah, they're
literally
the
only in
second
that game because
second most juiceless, second least juice in the league behind the
I,
Jaguars.
see. I mean, honestly, I think they have less juice because at least in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, Trevor Lawrence is good, right? We know Deshaun sucks. Like he's the worst quarterback, like just in the NFL right now. Like in terms of
Is
first
he?
downs, dude. I saw a stat. It was like out of 588 quarterbacks or something like that since 2006 on like touchdowns, first downs, passer rating. He's like 566 and like on first downs, he's 588. He's like the worst quarterback since 2006 of getting first downs. So, yes, he sucks.
Jeez.
I would honestly have Will Levis on my team because at least Will Levis he's young and he's shown flashes. Deshaun old, rapist. No, just yeah, not good. I mean, I,
Grape. You gotta say grape. Grape.
yeah, great. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't demonetize me with my with our 15 viewers. No, dude, I as a Browns fan, I picked them to cover. They did cover. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be like the repressed Cincinnati Bengals are finally going to get a big win over the Browns because the Browns were really only in that because of that fluky blocked kick, the blocked field goal that
Yeah,
got returned for a touchdown. So
right.
I'm gonna just go with
Damn it. That's why I didn't. That's why I was wrong.
yeah. I literally got
Really
the
minus
I
10.
got the fluke Browns luck. Although yeah, I wasn't really impressed with how Cincy looked against the Giants on Sunday Night Football last night. Um, I
But we
mean
talked about it. Since he's Giants are a really good defense, at least
that's
against the
true,
pass
and the Browns have
and
not
rushing
been.
the pass.
Yeah, I'll go Cincy. I'll go Cincy minus 4.5 here. Um,
Okay.
as much as it pains me to say it.
Okay. So I'm not gonna like argue that Deshaun Watson's good because I don't think that. I don't
Yeah,
think he's good. But however, if I go play devil's advocate a little bit against the Cowboys, he was sacked 6 times. Now Jaguars only sacked twice. They won the game. Against the Giants, he was sacked 8 times.
wow.
Against the Raiders, he was sacked, okay, 3 times. So not bad. Then against Washington, he was sacked 7 times. So there's a game where he sacked 6 times. There's a game where he was sacked 8 times. There's a game where he was sacked 7 times. And then Philly got to him. Let's see. My computer is not loading here. I want to say it was 6 times or five or 6 times. Let me see. Um, he was sacked. Gosh, Google Chrome 5 times. So he's been sacked a lot.
Yeah,
In fact, he may be the most sacked quarterback in the league. I'd have to verify that, but um, then they get to the question is like, is
Is
that
it his
his
fault?
fault
Yeah.
or
I was just thinking that. Like, is it on the O line? Like, I wish we had a stat like how many of these sacks are on Deshaun just holding onto the ball way too long, which he does. He holds on the ball forever. Um, and
so
he,
he's the most sacked quarterback by a lot. He's been sacked 31 times. Caleb Williams is number two with 20.
wow. And Caleb Williams actually
Yeah.
looks good. So,
Yeah. The craziest thing is it also says that Deshaun Watson has the sixth highest time to throw in the pocket at 2.3 seconds.
oh,
And
so,
he's by far the most sacked quarterback in
so
the
it's
league.
his fault.
Like by a
And
landslide.
it's all his
Yeah.
fault. Okay. Yeah.
It's what it seems like. It's what it seems like. I mean, having that much pocket time is yeah, it says average time the QB had the pocket between the snap and throwing the ball or pressure collapses the pocket in seconds. So he holds on to the ball for too long. It's I mean, Cincinnati's got some decent pass rushers. It's not like this like ferocious pass rush, you
Yeah.
know, where you've got like a Chris Jones or a Nick Bosa or anything like that. But like Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, they're pretty decent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like him.
I'm with you, man. I think the Browns just have no juice. And like you said, at least for the Jags, you have a quarterback that you could maybe see being good
Hmm.
down the road. With Deshaun Watson, it's like it's bleak, it's hopeless.
Yeah, we've seen enough. Like, you can kind of delude yourself. Like maybe last year and the year before that, you can kind of delude that. Oh, he might not be completely washed. He doesn't have enough time to prove it. And then like
Right.
now you've seen enough. I mean, we've gotten through 6 weeks of
He
football,
stinks.
and he sucks every
He's
single
terrible.
week.
He's bad. He's
Yeah.
awful.
So you're going
Well,
with Cincy as well?
I am, and I'm worried about the Joe Burrow record against the Browns, but losing Bill Callahan on that offensive line really was bad for the Browns.
Yeah.
And again, we just found out he's got the sixth most time to throw in the pocket in the league. But I don't know, man. I feel like Cincy just has more to play for. Like even though these teams, I mean,
They have the
they're
same
two
record, right?
Bengals are 2-4, and the
Oh
Browns
no,
are one
yeah,
and
that's
five.
right. Yeah. The Browns only have one win. It was
Yeah,
against the Jags, unfortunately for the Jags. And then
right.
obviously we had the Bengals
Yeah,
winning last night.
it's tank for Shador Sanders time in Cleveland, man.
Quinn Ewers, baby. We need Quinn Ewers.
No,
Get the
no,
Ohio.
I'm just kidding about
Yeah.
Shador. But if Andrew Berry would take Shador Sanders.
Yeah. Oh,
You know
yeah.
he would.
Milrow, Cam Ward, all of those guys before.
If they took Milrow though,
I would
that would be
like.
awesome.
I would like Cam Ward. Honestly, I think he would probably be a.
No, Cam Ward's good, but I just feel like he's like a little like too casual back there. Like he looks like he's just like playing backyard football.
Yeah, that is true. You might.
And the thing is, if you don't like quarterbacks that hold on to the ball too long and take a lot of like Russell Wilson sacks, which is
Yeah, that is just gonna
mo-
be
like
Cam Ward.
the Russell Wilson sack where you're just like standing back there in the pocket and getting sacked after like 6 or 7 seconds, then you would really hate Jalen Milrow because
Mm-hmm.
that's that's like his thing. He just like stands back there for like 8 seconds and then doesn't like feel any pressure around him, just gets blindsided, fumbles the ball. It happens so many times.
Yeah, yeah, that is a. I like I said, I
But
like Quinn Ewers. I think we got a former Ohio State guy who looks kind of Amish. He would be perfect for a Cleveland Browns quarterback. Um, let's go.
yeah,
Let's move on to Houston Texans taking on Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. Green Bay's minus 2.5 point favorites here. Um,
Yeah.
this is kind of a tough one to pick, but I think I got to go with the hotter quarterback. The one who I like has jumped off the page more at me is Jordan Love, actually. Second week back from the injury. Um, I or third. I like him a lot more than I've liked watching C.J. Stroud. I feel like C.J. Stroud. I don't want to say this because he's an Ohio State guy. He's kind of looked like ass a little bit. It's like he's kind of in a little bit of a slump right now. I feel like he's thrown
He's
some
had interceptions.
dumb picks. Like
And
I watch him like, what is he doing? I like, and I don't want to say that because like he's an Ohio State guy, but I just like was watching him against the, I mean, against the Pats, he just like airmailed it straight to I think it was Gonzalez. Like, it,
yeah, yeah, he was 20 of 31 for only 192 yards. Um, didn't really have that impressive of a passing. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks. I mean, not a very impressive passing line. And the Texans really where they won that game against the Patriots was obviously in the turnover
yeah,
department,
two
four
two
turnovers to
picks.
one for New
Yeah.
England.
Hmm.
But they also did run for 192 yards on 28 carries.
Yeah, Damian Pierce had a
Um,
big carry. So did Joe Mixon. Um,
5.6 yards per carry. Yeah, yeah. Joe Mixon had a 59 yarder. Damian Pierce had a 54 yarder. A lot of big runs for the Texans. Actually, if you take out those 2 big runs, which accounted for 113 of their 192 yards, then you're looking at 28 runs for 79 yards.
yeah, but I
And you
know.
can't take that out, obviously,
Yeah,
but
one of those big runs. I think it was Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce's big run was a touchdown. So, I mean, that's like a huge
mhm,
play resulting in points. Um,
yeah.
I like I said, I haven't been as impressed with C.J. Stroud as I was his rookie year. I don't think he's looked as good as sharp. He's kind of thrown some
No,
dumb
it's because
picks.
he spent too much time in the offseason on podcasts with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and he's got
Micah Parsons.
Diva Diggs, dude. I'm telling you, Diva Diggs is causing him to throw those picks, dude. You got to force the ball to
D-
Diggs. That's why Josh Allen hasn't thrown a pick
yeah,
yet.
get Diggs out of the league, man. Send him to Canada.
Dude, no, we'll take him on the Browns. We'll trade Amari Cooper for Stephon Diggs. I think that would actually be a good trade for Houston. I would much rather have Amari
Oh,
Cooper.
I would love that. I would love that
Yeah.
for Houston.
Um,
Mari Cooper is like the polar exact opposite of Stephon Diggs.
yeah. Unselfish, quiet, great. I mean, he had a 200-yard game last year. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I really have to go with Green Bay. Their defense is impressive as well. Um, I prefer them over how Houston's looked.
yeah. Despite being 5-1, Houston hasn't really been all that convincing. Um, they have a 2-point win over Indianapolis, 6-point win over the Bears. Then they lost by 27 to Minnesota. 4-point win over the Jags. 3-point win over Buffalo, a game that they tried to give away. Stroud, had that turnover late, and then a big win on the road over the Patriots. But another thing, no one will ever be able to convince me that the Packers don't secretly play like 12 home games a year. They're
Yeah,
always at home.
they are. Yeah,
Every game the Packers are at home. Same with the Cowboys. The Packers and the Cowboys are always at home.
and the
Um,
Cowboys always play on the late night window. They never are playing early in the day.
yeah, the Cowboys don't play on the road. And they don't play in the noon window at all.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So for this game, um, just because I hate the Packers, I think they're probably going to win. And let's see, actually, what do we have that spread at?
two
Two
point
and a half.
five. Yeah.
So it opened at 3.5, and it's down to 2.5 now. Um, so bettors are kind of
Towards
going on
Houston.
towards Houston. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah. I don't want to keep agreeing with you, but I I don't have a ton of faith in Houston, honestly. The only thing is what would give me faith in them is their defense is really solid.
Yeah.
Um, Will Anderson in the last game had 3 sacks. Uh, Another issue for Green Bay is the health status of Jaden Reed.
Ooh, yeah.
He's it's listing him as questionable here.
Isn't Dontavian Wicks
Um,
out as well? He's like week to week or
Dontavian
something.
Wick, yeah, he's out. I think like a few weeks they said.
Oof.
So Houston's the healthier team, and I'm going to cling to that and take them with the 2.5 points. I'm going to use that as like my light in the my
Yeah.
ray of sunshine.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna cling on to that hope that they're going to be able to just be the healthier team really and get the win. In the Packers endless streak of home game or nonstop streak of home
Yeah.
games.
Lambo every week.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah, they seriously play 3 road games a year.
let's move on to Miami Dolphins taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. Indy is a 3.5 point favorite here. I hear though that their Richardson is going to be able to play. I think I just saw a report today that Richardson's going to play this
Uh-oh.
week, um, which kind of
Oh
gives me
no.
pause for taking them. Although we saw Mason Rudolph beat the Dolphins 2 weeks ago after Will Levis got hurt. Although Titans defense I think is better than the Colts, but this is kind of a tough game to pick um, because on one hand you have Snoop Huntley, who certified Jag, just another guy. Um, and then on the other hand, we have Richardson, who is not a certified Jag. He's kind of like a Cam Newton, Josh Allen light, where he's got all these
He's
physical
a poor
traits.
man's Cam Newton.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard because obviously I don't think they're going to want to run uh, Richardson a ton because he got hurt. Obviously, got that oblique injury from running the ball um,
Yeah, he can't
and,
stay healthy.
and sliding. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
So I want to go with Miami here. Actually, kind of like they got that bye week. Um,
Yeah.
I like teams coming off byes. Um, so I'm gonna just take Miami to cover this because this is 3.5. I maybe they'll lose and they'll lose by 3, but I like Miami to cover here.
Okay. I think Miami, in terms of teams that have no juice, Miami's like right up there with the Browns and the Jaguars, just juiceless teams, which is crazy because Miami was like the most interesting team in the league last year.
Yeah,
They were, they were like constantly in the news, constantly being talked about. There was just like very interesting. Their coach is fun. Nobody cares about Miami this year. They're just like one of those
no,
teams that is just so uninteresting and so boring, and they just like it's crazy. And I've said this multiple times, but like I never thought that Tua was a big QB contract guy. Seeing how bad they are without him kind of makes you realize, like, man, I guess he was worth that big contract. But then on the same token, it's like the guy is, clearly got an issue with getting cut
concussion.
through either his own fault or no fault of his own. I don't know, but he doesn't know how to take a hit. He doesn't know how
No,
to like, the way he got that concussion was like he just ran right into DeMar Hamlin. Like, dude, you got to slide there, but just do a better job protecting yourself.
yeah,
Anyway, I'm gonna take the Colts in this one. They're at home. They're a decent team, and I, I just I just feel like they'll be able to make a few more plays. Um, and I think Miami will turn the ball over a few times,
yeah.
which
Snoop.
which will make it easier for Snoop might have to like force it. They just don't think that they're going to be able to score many points out of like their base offense, so they're going to have to like get aggressive and take risks and stuff like that. Like their base offense is not. No, no. Do we know is Achan playing?
I'm assuming no, but honestly, I kind of like if he doesn't play. I kind of like Raheem Mostert in this matchup because the Colts' run D isn't that great, and I feel like Raheem Mostert's kind of be going to be the guy, or Jalen Wright, either one of those two is going to be the guy that you
Well,
can
yeah,
kind of run up the middle. Hn is
Jalen
not
Wright's
that
definitely
guy.
running for 200.
Jalen Wright, 400 yards. Yeah, I just prefer.
Yeah.
I think honestly, Mostert or Wright is just a way better running back for this particular matchup. I feel like the whole like outside screen passes and stuff like that is not really where you're going to beat the Colts. It's going to be running it up the middle. Um, I do kind of prefer Achan for that. And
It, what about Jonathan Taylor?
um, he's on my
He's
fantasy team, so he's probably out for the rest of the year. But I let me see, because I think he was listed as questionable going into it, and then they ruled him out. Um, he's
I'm
already
just gonna
missed
bank
two
on him
weeks,
playing.
so
Yeah.
I
They said it
was
was mild.
I will say he'd probably play.
If they said it was mild, so I'm gonna just bank on Jonathan Taylor playing, and I'm gonna take the Colts minus 3.5.
Okay.
And I don't think Miami's capable of scoring more than like, I don't know, 20 points.
Yeah, I think this game will be close, like in the way that the Titans versus Indy game was kind of close. Um,
Yeah.
so that's where I'm really favoring Miami just to cover. I don't see them winning this game. Although I didn't see them beating the Patriots, and they did. So there's that. Um, let's move
Yeah.
on from a really shitty matchup to a really great matchup. This is the Detroit Lions going on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings are
Yep.
2.5 point home favorites. This game is going to be awesome. Um, NFC North is totally legit this year. All the teams are have more than 4 wins. Um, the
There's no bad
Packers,
team.
the Packers that we mentioned earlier are 4-2, and they're the worst in the division. And then we obviously have the Vikings that are undefeated. Then we have Detroit 4-1 because they had the bye week, and then the Bears who are 4-2 as well. Um,
Hmm.
I really like this matchup. This matchup's going to be awesome. Um, a lot of points going to be scored. I think I'm going to go with Minnesota here. I just prefer Minnesota. Um, I know I said this last week, but I feel like Jared Goff's been playing too clean, and he's probably going to throw a pick 'cause he had that perfect game 2 weeks ago where he didn't throw a single incompletion the whole game, and then
Hmm.
obviously last week Cowboys sucked and he didn't throw any picks that game. So I think Brian Flores' defense, we're going to see that Andrew Van Ginkel pick six. Uh, we're going to see Justin Jefferson hitting the gritty a ton because the Lions have trash cornerbacks. And and also uh, Hutchinson got hurt, which is a huge loss for Detroit, which sucks because I like Hutchinson. But
Yeah.
yeah, big loss for
Yeah,
them.
that's
He's out.
terrible, man.
He's out for the
That
rest
is
of the
so,
year.
gosh. Yeah, they said that he's gonna be able to make a full recovery, but he was having such a great season,
Yeah,
and he's like, obviously defensive player of the year candidate. Um, one of the big time pass rushers in the NFL, and for him to have a broken leg, that's just
yeah.
brutal for the Lions, man. And brutal for him too. That's just really sad. But um, in spite of all that, you're talking about how the Lions don't have a good pass defense. They've actually only allowed 5.7 net yards per attempt through the air, which makes them the ninth best pass defense in the league in terms of
Wow.
passing efficiency. Yeah,
Maybe
so
I'm
they've
just
actually been a lot
underrating.
better.
I think I'm underrating Baker's performance against the Detroit because he actually cooked them up. Um, Evans, and Godwin basically
But I mean, they just beat Dallas 47-9, and obviously, I think Dak is trash, but they still have a effective passing game, even if it's a lot of it's in garbage time. But they didn't even get really garbage time points against Detroit.
I feel like the
Um,
Cowboys just like if they can't get CD going early, he's just going to be like a mid wide receiver. Like if he gets something big early, he's going to be a game wrecker. But if he doesn't, he's just kind of like middle tier wide receiver. And that's not even like a dog on him. He's just like I don't know something about him.
yeah, um, you might be right. I, I'm just gonna say Detroit wins this one and covers the 2.5. Um, I'm gonna give me those points. Give me Detroit with points against a team with Sam Darnold as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna like overthink this one. I know Minnesota's been really good, and they even have some really quality wins too.
Uh huh.
But I just I'm taking Detroit. Detroit runs this division, and yes, it's really sucks that you don't have Hutchinson off the edge to disrupt Sam Darnold and make him start seeing ghosts
Yeah.
as he
Against.
once described the Patriots pass rush back in the day. Um, I'm gonna just take Detroit. I'm not gonna overthink this one. Detroit, yes, they're on the road, but it's a division game with the points. I think Detroit gets this done,
Yeah.
and
I think it would be a
I
good
think they
game.
win outright.
Okay. Let's move on to another divisional game in the NFC. We're going to Philadelphia taking on the Giants in MetLife. Giants are actually underdogs at home. They are 3.5 point dogs against Philly. Um, I know Daniel Jones kind of had an ugly pick last night. Although Dable said in the post press conference that was on me, it wasn't on Jones. That was my bad. So who knows how much credence to put into that. I wasn't really impressed with Philly. Philly finally had the Avengers back. They had 2011 Avengers back on offense. They had AJ Brown, Saquon, and Devonta Smith, and they only won by 4 points. Right, it was 16-20. Um,
Yeah,
and the Giants, I think, have a way better defense than the Browns do. They have Tyrone Tracy, who I like. Philly's run D isn't that great. Um, praying we get Malik Neighbors back because I need him for my fantasy football team. Um, I like the Giants as home underdogs here. I mean, they're playing in MetLife. Um, I know we're thinking this is a Saquon revenge game, but this is actually a New York Giants front office revenge game. They're going to be like, "Hey, we just drafted Tyrone Tracy, and he's you but better." Um, so give me the Giants here. I like the Giants just as 3.5 point favorites. They might lose, but I think they'll play them closer than they played the um, Bengals. So I
yeah.
like the Giants here.
Okay, yeah. The Eagles are pretty mid against the pass. Malik Neighbors coming back. I think he's gonna have a big day. Um, Wait, sorry, you're taking Giants plus 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on that with you. I'm gonna go Giants plus 3.5 here.
Okay.
Um, I Phillies. I don't know, man. They're like I said last week. There's just like something wrong with Philly. They have a lot of talent. They don't ever play up to their full potential. Um, Sirianni is just a complete clown. Um, and I think the Giants are really good at defending the pass. They're really good at generating pressure on the quarterback. And in fact, the Giants lead the league in sacks with 26. Um,
Wow. They
yeah.
had multiple like I think they had like 8 against the Seahawks, right? They had a lot against the Seahawks. I know that. Um,
Well, they had 8 against Deshaun Watson and the Browns. So,
yeah, probably then.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. The Eagles are just one of those teams that I don't trust. Whereas, not that I trust the Giants, but I don't know. I think they could maybe sneak one in here. It's a division rivalry kind of game.
Yeah, divisional
Um,
games are always tough.
I think they're good against the pass. They're going to get after the quarterback, and Saquon may be able to run the ball. I like, but it doesn't like concern me too much, and I just I like the idea of Malik Neighbors going against this Eagles secondary.
Yeah.
Um, I just there's a lot more boxes that are the Giants are checking for me in this game. So I'm going to pick the Giants to at least just cover the 3.5. I don't know if they win, but
Okay.
I'll take them to cover it.
Um, let's move on to Las Vegas Raiders taking on the LA Rams in Los Angeles. LA Rams are actually 5.5 point favorites here, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if we're getting Cooper Cup back. I'm assuming no because my fantasy football still listing him as out. Um,
Hmm.
but with how bad the Raiders looked, they are probably top five teams, no juice this year.
Yeah, for sure. They suck. I'm done believing in the Raiders.
No, and they looked even worse with Aiden O'Connell with AOC starting for him.
Yeah,
I like the Rams here to cover this 5.5 points. Just purely based off the fact they have Matt Stafford. I know their defense is banged up. I know their offense is banged up. Um, but I just prefer the Rams here. I know they have Sean McVay and I know they have Stafford. Those are way better pieces compared to AOC and Antonio Pierce. No disrespect to Antonio Pierce, but McVay's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Um, so yeah, I like the Rams at home, 5.5 point favorites.
yeah. I'm gonna tail that with you. Um, I know we have a lot of the same picks, but I picked the Steelers, or I picked the Raiders to cover against the Steelers. I picked the Raiders to lose close against the Steelers and cover. They lost by 19 points um, at home. They suck. They're horrible. I'm done believing in them. I don't even believe they're like I'm putting them in the same tier as I put the Carolina Panthers in.
Yeah,
Maybe tipping my hand on the next pick here, but like the Panthers for like a little while, I was like, okay, yeah, they're gonna lose, but they might still cover. I don't even trust them to cover anymore. The
yeah.
the the Raiders just have no juice whatsoever. They're terrible. And the only thing that I'm actually wondering about this game is if they set a record for most fights in the stand, because the Rams and the Raiders have like them and like the Niners have like the most fight prone fans in the
Yeah.
league. Uh, like definitely in terms of like power ranking fans most likely to get into a fight at the game. Raiders are number one, Cowboys are probably number two, 49ers and then Rams are up there as well.
Uh huh.
This is gonna just be like this is gonna just be
UFC prelims.
like a WWE match. Yeah, yeah. UFC prelims. Just like the undercard is literally just the stands at SoFi this Sunday.
Yeah, this should
They're
be.
like over under like 3.5 uh like crazy fight videos that result from this game that make their way onto Twitter and go viral. So that's the only thing that I'm interested in this game for is all the fights that are going to happen in the stands. But yeah, the Rams are going to cover the 5.5. The Raiders suck. They have absolutely no juice. It's tank time. And that's all I have to say about that game.
Yeah, not much to say. Honestly, not much to say about this next game. Carolina taking on the Washington Commanders in Washington. Um, Washington is
Yeah.
7.5 point favorites. I will say this though, Carolina's run game is actually kind of decent. Um, and
Okay.
they hopefully are going to have Jonathan Brooks back. I've heard. I don't know if that's true. Um, Obviously, they have Choba Hubbard and they have uh, Miles Sanders, who I'm actually kind of a Miles Sanders guy. I liked him on the Eagles, but um, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of the run game here, but we did see Carolina play the Falcons very close, and I think the Falcons have a much better defense than Washington. Um,
Yeah,
kind of
I
debating
agree.
taking Carolina here. Kinda, as in I don't really want to because I think this might just be a blowout. This might just be Jaden Daniels like just is able to run all over him, pass all over him, do whatever they want type of thing. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, them having no Brian Robinson Jr. last week was a huge loss against the Ravens because they need a skilled RB1. He's a big part of their offense. They're missing him. Um, if they get him back this week, they might cover the 7.5 points pretty easily. But for some reason, I kind of just am like, my brain is telling me to take Carolina, just that run game. Obviously, Washington has a really weak run D. So I'm gonna go with this crazy underdog pick here, and I'm gonna go with the Carolina Panthers covering the 7.5 points.
yo,
Yep.
are you there?
Yeah. Could you hear me?
Okay, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, so you kind of
Okay.
cut out a little bit. So you're going to take Carolina to cover the 7.5.
Yeah, because of the run game.
Okay, both these teams are bad on defense. The Panthers are sixth worst in the league in yards per play allowed. The Commanders are fourth worst in the league in yards per play allowed. So these are two really bad defenses letting up over 6 yards per play, which surprises me with the Commanders because Dan Quinn. Um, either way, the difference, so even if they're both pretty bad defenses, the Commanders' offense is 100 times better than the Panthers' offense.
Very true.
I don't really see how I don't really see any path to victory for the Panthers in this game, other than if like Washington turns the ball over a million times. But I'm going to take Washington to cover the 7.5. Um, I'm like last week I was scared away by a lot of those big lines, and I know I did take Tennessee to cover the 8.5 this week, but I'm not going to be scared away by the big line in this game. I'm just going to take Washington. It's like hard to trust a team like Washington with a 7.5 point line because
Yeah.
normally that's like a line that you can like trust like those established teams to cover. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to take them. I'm going to take Washington minus 7.5. I just think Carolina has not a whole lot of juice on offense, and even if they can score some points, Washington's going to score a lot more points, and probably going to be an ugly game. Hopefully we see a little bit of fireworks. Hopefully we see a little bit of a shootout there because
Yeah.
again, both bad defenses. But um, I'll take Washington.
All right. Let's move on to a really, really good matchup. This is a Super Bowl rematch. Kansas City Chiefs traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. 49ers are
Yeah,
1.5 point favorites. This game is going to be awesome. Um, with how the
yeah,
49ers looked on Thursday Night Football, and I know I said I favor teams coming off a bye, but I also favor storylines, and I think this is the Niners' revenge game. That doesn't mean I think if they play each other in the playoffs that the Niners will win, but I think they'll win this game because Brock Purdy's, coming off a really great game, no picks thrown, perfect passes to Debo, Kittle. Um,
yeah,
I I just think I've been more impressed with Brock Purdy as a passer this year than I have Mahomes. Now, I'm not saying that Purdy's a better quarterback than Mahomes. I'm just saying this year Mahomes has looked not that good. He's looked pretty. We've only seen a little bit of the Mahomes magic. It's not been like a 2020 Mahomes year where he just looks awesome and he wows you with every play he does. Um, he's thrown a pick in every game this year, and I think the Niners defense is better than the Saints defense. So I like the 49ers at home here. Uh, going with the Niners here, 1.5 point favorites.
Brock Purdy leads the NFL in intended air yards per pass attempt. So like average depth of target
Yeah.
9.6. So he's throwing the ball down the field. Mahomes is dead last in intended air yards at 5.3
Jeez.
yards per attempt. Yeah, so Mahomes is completely turned into a check down merchant. That said, if you're going to give me the Chiefs against this loser team, even you're giving me points, I'm going to take the Chiefs because
Oh.
Kyle Shanahan is a choke artist who pisses down his leg when he sees the little arrowhead thing on the helmet, and that's really all I have to say. I
Okay.
just and actually to get a little bit more into, I just don't think the 49ers are. They're just not. They're not the same. They're not like this dominant team like they were last year. They don't feel scary anymore. I don't.
Neither are the
It's
Chiefs,
crazy as it
though.
sounds.
That's. I mean, the Chiefs aren't dominant either. They haven't looked great. I mean, one score game against the Chargers, who had a one score game against the Broncos, one score game against
But
the
that's how they
Falcons.
were last year.
Yeah,
That's how they were last year, and they still won the Super Bowl.
that is true. I just really
They
prefer. I just really prefer how Brock Purdy's been looking and how the offense has been looking. They're finally getting Debo, Kittle. All these guys are back and healthy playing. Meanwhile,
I'm with you.
Meanwhile, the Chiefs have lost their big pieces like for the year. They've lost Isaiah Pacheco. They've lost Rashee Rice. They're losing pieces, and the Niners are kind of getting theirs back. Obviously, no McCaffrey hurts, but Jordan Mason still looks pretty good. I think he's expected to play. Um, but yeah, I've already said, yeah, I picked the Niners here. I just think this is a game where, like I said, I don't think they're going to win if they play each other in the playoffs. Maybe they will, but I think they'll win
In the
this
Super
game
Bowl.
specifically because it's like a bad taste in their mouth. We just lost these guys in the Super Bowl. We got to show we're legit. Yeah, I think the Niners are going to they're going to be able to just pass all over them. I feel like I haven't been impressed with Casey's passing defense. More the run defense I've been impressed with, and I don't think they'll need to run against the Chiefs as much.
What about their ref defense?
That might screw him. that might screw the that might screw him over. We'll see.
Yeah, Chiefs plus the ref. You know, bailing Mahomes out any third. Anytime it's third and long, just throw a little flag in there, move the chains, keep it moving there. Chiefs. I just seriously though, I just think the Chiefs have like really perfected their formula where they're gonna hold you to 20 to 24 points, and they're just banking on Mahomes being able to score one or two more points more than you. And as long as it's a close game at the end, as long as they're within a possession at the end, they're gonna just trust Mahomes to and the ref, to move them down the field, get into scoring range, get whatever sort of field goal, touchdown, whatever they need. They're gonna get it done in the end. They play 4 quarter games against about just about anybody
Yeah,
that they play. Every game is 27-24, something like that, 27-20. But they've really just perfected it. They're comfortable in it. That they're comfortable playing these games down to the end and relying on Mahomes to get it done at the end. And we know how this game is going to go. It's going to be just like just like I described. It's going to be close. All 4 quarters, neither team's going to really pull away, and Mahomes and the refs are going to do something at the end to win it.
I
So
do.
I'll take them to win it and cover.
I don't know why. I feel like this is actually not going to be close, like semi close at all. I feel like this is going to be like how the Niners played the Cowboys last year, where they just were like hitting bombs on them early, like huge bombs to Kittle, huge bombs to Debo. I feel like this is like a good matchup for the Niners passing game. Like I feel like they have enough pieces where, oh, Spagnuolo's not going to be able to cancel out everybody here. Is he really going to be able to cancel out Jordan Mason, Ayuk, Jennings, Debo, Kittle? I don't think so. I think one of those guys is going to be able to like hit a home run play on a drive early, and I know I could just picture this being the game where Mahomes. There's always those games where Mahomes is frustrated very early on, and that's where the Chiefs kind of take a little bit to get started. Where Mahomes is like looking at his
Yeah,
wide receiver like, "What are you doing?" That's what this game is going to be like. I feel like Mahomes going to. It's not going to be a complete blowout. Like Mahomes will get back into it later, but I think this is a Niners like dominant win. Like they usually have one of these every year against a good team where they just kill them, and I think this will be it. Um,
yeah. I mean, it just depends on how early Mahomes starts complaining to the ref.
Yeah, if Mahomes doesn't get phantom PI calls, I think they're literally 0-6 this year. Um, no, let's move on to a kind of a. I feel like this game might be crappy, might be good. Uh, New York Jets traveling over to Pittsburgh, downtown to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Steelers are
Yeah,
1.5 point favorites here. Um, I don't really have much to say because we haven't seen this Jets game. It's going to be on in an hour or so for us.
it's actually in 23 minutes.
Oh
I'm
snap!
looking at the countdown clock. Yeah, it starts in 20 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have a lot to say if they're going to really get a bump from Jeff Ulbrich yet. But I did like how the Steelers looked against the Raiders, but that's not saying much as we both have said that the Raiders are kind of a broken franchise right now, just in terms of all the shit going on with them. But
Yeah,
I gotta look at quarterbacks and I gotta look at wide receivers. I think Garrett Wilson's better than George Pickens, like 1 billion%. Um, and I think Aaron Rodgers is
yeah,
better than
George
Fields,
Pickens.
as much as I like Justin Fields. Um, so I gotta go with the Jets here, and I think the Jets defense is semi good. It's not the greatest, but it's pretty good. Um, Actually, no, I'm saying it's not semi good. It's very good. But
It might be the best in the league, actually,
yeah, I'm kind of just picturing that Niners game where the Niners
statistically.
cooked them, but that's a whole Salah Shanahan thing. So yeah,
Yep.
let me go with the Jets here. Jets as underdogs in Pittsburgh. I'll take the Jets as 1.5 point underdogs.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's really tough. It's really tough to project for this game because we haven't seen, this game that's coming up in about 20 minutes, the Jets taking on the Bills. So we don't know what kind of bump the Jets are going to get from getting rid of Saleh and having Ulbrich in there as the interim head coach. Um, you don't know if the Jets are going to. I mean, I'm looking at them in the huddle right now. They look like they got some serious juice. I mean, guys look locked in. And I'm watching this live right now. They're just showing Mosley giving a speech to the whole team here.
Uh huh.
It looks like they kind of got a little bit of that swagger back
Oh, you got the bump.
after getting Robert Saleh out of it. I mean, you got 52 shadow boxing over here. Dudes that look like there's pretty good energy
Yeah.
in that circle. I don't know if you're watching it right now,
No, I'm not.
and it looks like they got some pretty good energy. Guys got pep in their step. So I feel pretty good about picking the Jets this week. Uh, but again, it all remains to be seen what happens when they get out there on the field. Um, I just think when you talk about continuity, Tomlin's the longest tenured head coach in the league. That system's been in place for so long, and the Jets are really just trying to figure things out. And I just think at home, Sunday night football, this is a spot where I think Mike Tomlin gets the win, going up against an interim head coach who has never been a head coach before. Well, it'll be his second game by the time this game comes around next week or on Sunday. I'm gonna take the Steelers here. I don't even know if they'll cover the one. Like it might even be like a 1 point win.
Yeah.
Um, so now that I'm seeing that, I may just take the Jets here. In
Okay.
fact, you know what? I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to take the Jets there,
Okay. Double
uh,
Jets.
and 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 cover. Yeah, I'm going to just say that I still think it could go either way, but I'm going to take the Jets with the points. I just think it's going to be a really close, low-scoring game between two really good defenses. Um, and I just feel more comfortable taking the points with the Jets than I do with laying the points with the Steelers. So I'm going to actually join you there, and take the Jets.
All right. Wait. So that's the Sunday night game, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Why is it not Kansas City versus San Fran? I feel like that would be the best Sunday night game ever. Um,
Yeah.
but
I don't know.
that's kind of crazy because I feel like this might be a crappy game. Like in terms of just like defenses are really putting on a show and it's not really an offensive showing. Versus I think that Kansas City
Yeah, I
San
could see
Fran.
like a 13-10 kind of game.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of seeing just from both teams. Middling offensive performances, but great defensive performances. Um, but
Right.
let's move on to Monday Night Football. There's one of two Monday Night Football games. The first one we're going to talk about is Baltimore traveling down to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks. The Baltimore Ravens are 3.5 point road favorites here. Um, I do think that Baltimore should probably have a good time just in terms of linebacker matchups like Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely against um, obviously the Bucks, who are kind of a depleted secondary. Hopefully they get Antoine Winfield back and a couple other pieces that they've been missing. But I don't know. I'm looking at this matchup in my head, and Baker. There's one quarterback who's leading the league in touchdown passes right now. It is Baker Mayfield, my guy. Um, and I'm just picturing the game that I think it was 4 years ago when the Browns took on the Ravens in Baltimore, and it was like game of the year contender, and the Browns barely lost. Both Lamar
But the
and
game that was like 47-43 or whatever it
yes,
was,
that game
the
exactly.
COVID year.
Yes, it was an awesome game. Baker had a great game. Lamar had a great game. Um, I don't know why. I know that I'm a Baker fan, but I just really think that the Bucks are going to win or cover this game. They should have really beaten the Falcons. Just really crappy look for them. Then they dropped 51 points on the Saints, and the Saints aren't a really terrible defense. Um, uh, I think Baker's going to get right this game. I know he threw 3 touchdowns, um, but I think he's going to limit those turnovers and get back to playing clean football that he's been playing. Obviously, he's leading the league in touchdown passes. I'm taking the Bucks here plus 3.5 points. I think they're going to win or lose very closely.
So Tampa plus 3.5.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to take that too. I don't know. The Ravens, they're just they feel like they're turning things around and they're on the right track. Obviously, number one rushing offense in the league in just about every category. Um, Most yards per game rushing, most yards per attempt rushing by a significant margin. Although the Buccaneers are actually a really
I was about to
solid
say,
rushing team as
yeah,
well.
I don't think Henry's going to
Um,
be able to run all over the Bucks like he was able to do against the Bills or the Commanders. Um,
yeah. Baltimore actually is the number one run defense in the league, whereas the Buccaneers are 21st in the league in rush yards per carry.
I will
That's a
say
tough matchup.
I will say though, I feel like that's kind of deflated because of Rashad White. He's probably if we're talking about in terms of juice and running backs, he's like the juiceless running back, just running it up the middle. Just gets 2 yards of carry every time. Occasionally gets a
Yeah.
big one. But what I saw with Sean Tucker and I saw with Bucky White as the 1 and 2, they looked
Bucky Irving.
awesome. Yeah, Bucky Irving. Sorry. Yeah, Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker looked awesome. Um, Obviously, Bucky Irving, he's a rookie, and Sean Tucker, I think, is a second-year player, or maybe he is a rookie as well. But these guys looked great against the Saints, and the Saints aren't a terrible run D. Um, Bucky Irving had, I think, 70 rushing yards, and Sean Tucker had 130 and receiving and a rushing touchdown. Um, I think the run game is
Yeah.
going to be improved as long as they don't put Rashad White back in as the starter because I really, really hope they don't do that. Um, like it feels like they try and get Rashad White going every game and he never gets going. Like they always talk about it in
Yeah.
the commentary, like yeah, they're gonna try and get this run game going tonight. And when it's Rashad White, it never gets going. He gets 2 yards a carry, and sometimes he gets 3 or 4, and very, very occasionally he gets a big one. But it seems like with these two guys that are backing him up, it is like every other play they are busting open for a huge run, explosive catch, or something like that. They are both just really good receivers and rushers. So, and obviously we got the one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver duos in the NFL with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I mean, this is a Hall of Famer and a really good All Pro level player in Godwin. So and their number three, Sterling Shepard, who is Baker's college teammate, is actually looking very improved as well. I don't know if you saw him doing. He was doing a lot
Yeah.
of rushing. He looked pretty good and he looked pretty fast. So, I mean, if that's your number three, you got Sterling Shepard, who is at one point he was like the number one or two on the Giants a couple years ago. Um,
Yeah.
I really think this is going to be a Bucks upset win. I mean, the Bucks beat the Lions. I hope people remember that. Like I said earlier, I kind of underrated Baker's performance against them, thinking Detroit had a bad secondary, but I guess their defense isn't that bad. I think Baker's just playing at a different level this year. Um, and even when he channeled his inner Jameis in the second quarter and threw picks, came back and won the game and played clean in the second half. Didn't throw any turnovers at all in the second half. Um, so yeah, we've been talking about this game for quite a while. So let's move on to the last game. Um,
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore in that one, even
yeah,
though I think you bring up a lot of good points, but I don't know. I don't really trust the Bucs run defense. They rank like 19th in the league, so
yeah. Although I know doesn't Lamar have a lot of trouble with blitzing? Like he's not that good against getting blitzed. So that there obviously we know what is one thing Todd Bowles love doing. It's blitzing a quarterback a ton. So
yeah.
that might be a good path to victory for them there. Let's move on to the last game, the last Monday night game. The Los Angeles Chargers traveling over to Phoenix, Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Chargers are road favorites here, 2.5 point favorites. I'm going to keep this short and simple because we've been kind of going pretty overboard on a lot of these picks.
Yep.
I'm taking the Chargers here. I like the coaching. I like Harbaugh better. I like Herbert better. Um, and I think Marv is out. He also has a concussion. I don't know if he'll be able to make recovery in a full week from
Yeah,
that.
he may. Yeah, he may or may not be. It all depends.
Um, and I like the Chargers' run D. Um, they showed a pretty good run defense against the Broncos, and Broncos really try and run the ball first. So I like the Chargers here on the road. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of it depends on if Marvin Harrison Jr. plays. But did you see that like Harbaugh had like some like irregular heartbeat thing
Oh, that's what it
going?
was. I didn't know because I saw obviously he went to the injury tent and then he went to the locker room,
Yeah,
then he came back out. I didn't know that's what it was.
yeah. He said he has like a. It said he basically had an irregular heartbeat that causes the upper chambers of the heart to beat 250 to 350 times per minute. A flare up today is what caused him to leave the game. So
Wow,
his heart started going crazy.
holy crap!
And yeah, he said that he is confident that they have it under control. And, it's saying there's a new thing. It says, he's not going to let it slow him down. But um, I don't know exactly when he went into the medical tent
It
for
was in the
that,
first
but
quarter. I remember. It was really
it was in
early.
the first quarter.
It was right about the same time Patrick Surtain got hurt. It was like Patrick Surtain got hurt, and then a couple minutes later, they were like Harbaugh's in the medical tent, and then he went into the locker room, then came back at halftime. I'm pretty sure around halftime. Um, but
Yeah.
that's crazy. I didn't know that's what it was. In my head I just assumed he probably had a trouble with like altitude or something. Just because I saw him back out, I didn't assume it was anything serious. I just thought, maybe he's not used to the Denver air. He's dehydrated or something. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very possible that was what happened, though. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's
Yeah,
hard to breathe up there, and
very
you
true.
know, you can't breathe. Your breathing obviously has an impact on it. But he said his quote was, "It'll take my heart stopping for me to not be out there." So,
Wow.
uh, confirmed football guy. Um, you and I were both fans of Harbaugh,
Yep.
at least in the NFL. Um, I think he's a really good coach. If Arizona doesn't have Marvin Harrison, I'm going with you. I'm taking the Chargers minus
Okay.
2.5. I just think they're going to be a better coach team. Really hard to figure out the Cardinals. I don't really know if they're good or bad or what. Um, but yeah, that said, I'm gonna go with you and take the Chargers in this game. I just think that this is the kind of team that can win a game like this, and um, I don't trust the Chargers or the Cardinals in this spot. I
No.
really don't.
No. Like I said, I think I've been saying this the past couple of weeks. The Cardinals, if they don't score, I don't know if it's Kyler, I don't know if it's the offensive scheme. If they don't score a touchdown very early, they suck. Like, their offense sucks terribly. The only reason they were able to really beat the Niners and stay in that game is because they had that huge Kyler touchdown right at the beginning of the game, and that's why they stayed
Hmm.
in it. When they don't score a touchdown, if they don't have if they don't score on their first drive, their offense just falls off a cliff, and I don't know what the hell's going on there. I don't know if it's Kyler's thinking about Call of Duty, um, or what. But like I've noticed it because like I don't want to pick any Cardinals player. Like if I'm doing over unders or something like that, I don't want to pick any of them because it's just like so dependent on if they score a touchdown at the beginning of the game. Like they looked like ass against the Lions, and I thought, oh, Kyler's going to do great against them. Nope. And then I didn't think that he was going to do well against the Niners, and they did. Um, but going back to this matchup, I really don't think this is going to be a game where he's going to get an early lead. I think this is where the Chargers defense is going to give Kyler problems early on. And we've seen if you give Kyler problems early on this year, their offense kind of flounders and it doesn't really know what to do. So, yeah, I think this should be a
So
pretty.
they're front runners.
Yeah, they're. I don't even know what it is. Is it just that they need like James Conner or something? Is he like such a vital part of their game that they have to run the ball a ton and get him involved a lot, or they'll just like suck? Or I really don't know. But yeah, the
Yeah.
Cardinals are extremely confusing this year, and I'm staying away from them with like all my picks basically, unless they're playing somebody like the Panthers or the Raiders or the Dolphins or the Titans. Then I'd maybe pick them, but other than that, they're a really hard team to pick, um, especially against a great coach team like the Chargers, with an extremely underrated quarterback in Justin Herbert. I mean, people put him in like the top 10 of quarterbacks like 2 years ago, and he's kind of been forgotten.
Yeah. Now people just are like, Justin Herbert. He's
Staley,
like
dude.
a oh my
It's
gosh.
all Staley's
I just
fault.
hope they I just hope they didn't fire him too late for all the damage he's done.
Yeah. Um,
Because yeah, Herbert started out so great and he's just really
yeah, like a
not
historical
considered to
rookie
be.
year, like an insanely good rookie year. I mean,
Yeah,
his passing records. I mean, I think he's one of five quarterbacks to pass for 5,000 yards, um,
yeah.
which is crazy. And he's only been in the NFL for 4 years. He got drafted in 2020, um, or was he 2019? I think it was 2020, right? Because Kyler was
He
2019.
was 2020, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he was in the same with like Tua and Joe Burrow. Um,
Hmm.
he went. He was he after Tua, right? Because I thought like everyone was shitting on the
Yes.
Dolphins for taking Tua first. Okay.
Yeah, he was a pick after Tua.
Yeah. Oh, and then obviously Joe Burrow went first overall. Um, but yeah, I really just think people kind of forgot about how good Justin Herbert was, and what was pretty crazy about that Chargers matchup against Denver is that they were actually kind of a pass first team there. Did you notice that? They passed the ball a lot in the first half. Um, Lots of passes to QJ, lots of passes to Lad McConkey, some passes to
Hmm.
Josh
Yeah, I do
Palmer.
remember seeing that.
Yeah, they were passing the ball a lot. And then when they didn't need to pass, J.K. Dobbins was able to get it done. I feel like the bye week, people kind of forgot J.K. Dobbins is good. He had like 90 yards.
Yeah.
I think he had a touchdown as well. Um, so there's not one piece besides Marvin Harrison Jr. on either, and I guess Trey McBride. I think I prefer Trey McBride over Hayden Hurst. Um, but
Yeah.
just overall, teams wise, the Chargers just clear basically every single position. Um,
Yeah, the Chargers are like the kind of, it's like they're like the kind of team that like imposes their will on you and makes you play their way.
yeah,
'Cause we talk about this, like most of the NFL subscribes to like the meta. They all play like the same way where they're gonna be like a pass first team, and the only teams that don't are the Harbaugh teams,
yeah,
Chargers and the
Ravens,
Ravens,
yeah,
where those are like run first and defense teams versus pass first teams. So it's like a unique thing to play a Harbaugh team because they don't. There's so many teams in the NFL that don't, that play, the same, and then those are like the exceptions to the rule.
yeah.
Um, so I just think the Chargers are going to be a better coach team. I like their defense. They're going to be able to impose their will on the Cardinals. I just think of this game as like a coaching matchup. I just feel like the Cardinals
Yeah.
are going to be um, less prepared, and I just think the Chargers are going to have a better game plan.
All right. Well, that's all our picks
So
for week 7, right?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot
Yep.
you didn't even pick, did you? Oh.
No, I picked it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we both picking the Chargers. Um,
Yep.
that's everything for week 7. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment on who you think the lock of the week was. And please check out our week 6 reactions. That's going to be coming out tomorrow as well. Until that one comes out, see you in the next one.